Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bet99's The Parleh Show. It is Tuesday. I'm Rob Conway, joined by my co-host, as always, Albert Vartanian.
Yes,
it is a hot one in Toronto. It's
cool in here, though.
It's actually, you just said that. It is a little cool in here. We
Nice,
got our
man.
T-shirts going,
Yeah.
and no, we're trying to stay cool in a really hot environment right now. But listen, it's much better than the freezing cold in January, and a person that will agree with me with that is my other co-host. And he is Matthew Barnaby in Ottawa, where it is also blazing hot.
It's going to be hot the next couple of days, but you're never going to hear me complain. Ever,
no, I know.
Ever. I won't be out a lot today, but I'm playing golf the next 5 days after that. And we're going to miss you in Kingston. Amazing. Little USA, Canada Ryder Cup style for 3 days. So we're going to miss you. But I just love where you canceled it because you forgot you had plans with your wife for dinner.
No, it wasn't dinner.
Ooh.
It was we're going to Collingwood for a nice weekend with other families with young children. They live up there. I'm actually not going until Saturday now because I have to work. So
all right.
Yeah. I could just double up to
quick spot start.
Gannon-Aquay.
Soft is what we call it.
Oh,
yeah.
Bobby.
Well, what are you gonna do,
What are
man?
you gonna do? You got a family.
Yeah.
Soft.
And I don't think you guys are going to miss me. I'm sure the fun will be had regardless of whether or not I'm in the Thousand Islands.
Are cameras allowed at this, Barney, at this open?
After noon, they're probably put away. I would say they're shut off. Yeah, they're confiscated. It's like going to prison.
That's amazing, man.
I was at a concert last night. We're just talking about this. Noel Gallagher, one of my favorite artists of all time. If I've been asking people if they know who he is, and the younger generation doesn't. And even when I said Oasis, a few people are like, who?
Who are you talking about?
Which is embarrassing. I've got to that point in my life now where bands I like are unheard of by the younger generation. But look, I love Noel Gallagher. Oasis is one of my favorite bands of all time. But last night, guys, he came on the stage, Budweiser stage, which is a legit show, $100 ticket. I don't know if it was sold out, but it was extremely busy. Came on at 9:40. He wrapped it up at 10:40. 1 hour. Comes all the way here to Toronto to do one show for 1 hour.
He gets his payday and leaves.
I mean, I was disappointed in that. He played half his new stuff, which is fine, and half of Oasis, which was
he
nice.
good?
He's great.
There you go.
But I'm going to go see Bruce Springsteen, who's like 100 years old, and he'll do 3 hours straight.
Yeah.
3 hours straight. And come on, man. 1 hour, I couldn't believe we were side stage. We had great seats. It was a great time with him.
You got the platform. Let them know how you feel, man.
I'm telling you right now. I mean, Noel, come on, man. I came all the way there to see you. We were there in the lake house. It was a beautiful spot. $16 beers.
God.
I could have used a few extra tracks. That's all. Who comes on at 9:40? My buddy was with. He went to Niagara to see John Fogerty, who, speaking of old bands, that's from CCR. He's like, we were at home and in bed by 9:30. Now their fan base is 80 plus, so they need to be home and in bed by 9:30. But I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Noel Gallagher, the only Gallagher I know is Frank Gallagher from Seamless or Shameless. I had no idea who you were talking about. I do know Oasis.
You know Oasis, yeah. So the Gallagher brothers.
Oasis. I just didn't know the guy's
I don't know
name.
much about him either. I know Oasis.
Noel wrote the songs and played.
The brothers split up?
Yeah, they always hate each other and they're friends.
So it's just Noel right now.
That was just Noel. It's Noel Gallagher and his High Flying Birds. But he played Oasis stuff. He wrote all the Oasis songs, but his brother Liam sang them. So he can't sing all of the songs. So he's not gonna play Oasis the whole time. I've seen Oasis live. They're great, but the same thing. They don't. You know when you go to a show and you've never seen the band, and you think at the end of it, you go, wow, that was a good show. I didn't know any of their songs, but I was entertained. Yeah. Oasis doesn't do that. They go out, they play the hits, and they see you later.
That's it.
Which is fine, because I love them, so it's fine. But if you're not a big fan, it's kind of disappointing.
No, you want to.
I'm going to Zach Brown Band next Friday.
Oh, nice.
In Toronto. So I'm
in Toronto.
In Toronto.
You're going to be in Toronto, and I didn't know about it.
Well, kind of.
Wow.
Well, we're really busy because we're going there. We're coming in, going to the concert right away. The next day, I'm with Fred and his wife. And since you guessed us this week, figured I'd guess you the week after.
My goodness.
And then we're going to Hamilton, the play, which I've been dying to see for years.
Nice. I just went to that a couple weeks ago.
I thought you were
amazing.
I thought you were going to the town.
Going to the Hammer, yeah.
I'd like to play a nice golf course or something.
Flying to go to the Hammer?
Yeah.
Hamilton Country Club is very, very
It
good.
is very, very nice. Yeah.
Very good.
For sure. That's great. Well, glad you're going to be in town and you're not going to see me. That's a devastating.
I was going to tell you, but I last minute, for drinks or dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you'll gas. You'll say yes, and then you'll cancel. I got family.
You have that reputation now, Bob.
Apparently, one weekend, which was supposed to be in Toronto, and now it's in Kingston.
You canceled my 36 Open last year because you were having a baby.
Literally, the baby was born like during the 36 Open, and your cottage is lovely, but I have no idea where the nearest hospital is, and I'm sure it's miles and miles and miles away.
It certainly is. It certainly is.
Well, we got a lot to talk about. We'll get into it in the next segment. We got the Leafs making deals, the Raptors losing a key asset for nothing. The Blue Jays, let's be honest, they're up and down at this point. So we'll get into them a little bit. But over the last, 24 hours, 48 hours, Barney, what's been the biggest note for you?
Oh, just free agencies, teams, and we're going to get into it. Teams getting better, and teams, the winners and losers of free agency. It's a time where you can drastically improve your team and set your team up without giving away assets. And I think that's the biggest thing for teams on free agency. And, a lot of short-term deals. I think you look at Lou Lamoriello, locks up a lot of guys. But certainly some teams got better and some teams got drastically worse.
Yeah, they sure did. It's going to be interesting. We're going to see, a lot of movement. We'll talk about a few buyouts. I learned a stat earlier today that apparently you don't get all your cash when you get bought out. I thought it was a guaranteed contract. So much for that. We'll get personal experience from Matthew Barnaby to share later as well. So we'll get into that, the NHL, NBA, MLB. We'll get into the parlay, which is 1-1 right now. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to this. There's a lot of day action because it's July 4th. Happy Independence Day to everybody in the United States. But lots of action in the afternoon. But we have our night game picks, and we'll get the parlay later. But for now, we'll take a quick break. All right, welcome back to Bet99's The Parlay Show. Rob Conway here, Albert Vartanian, and of course, Matthew Barnaby joining us from Ottawa. And nothing like a 40-degree day that wants you to talk about the NHL. Little puck for sure. And the Leafs, we're in Toronto, let's be honest. The Leafs doing some moves. Brad Treliving putting his hands on this team a little bit. There's much more important business to attend to, that being the Nylander contract, the Matthews contract, and going forward. And we'll talk about that in a second. But, Barney, I wanted to get your first thoughts here. I mean, you look at a guy like Bertuzzi, one of the bigger free agents, I guess feels like with the cap going up, maybe wants to bet on himself. They're able to ink him. I think that's a really nice piece there. Boston probably is disappointed because they didn't want to give him term, and then all of a sudden they made moves and couldn't keep him. So Toronto was lucky there. Ryan Reaves, of course, a dressing room guy. Lots of questions in the city. You listen to talk radio, like, is he even going to play in the playoffs? And it's 3 years. He's 36, going on 37. And then Klingberg, who's a puck-moving defenseman, and fan favorite, I'm sure, Max Domi, the son of Ty. So lots of narratives for all four of those guys, Barney. Just your thoughts on those moves out of the gate for Treliving.
Well, if you look at Treliving and what he did day one versus Kyle Dubas in Pittsburgh day one, A+ for Treliving. And
yeah, you like it, eh?
I do. When you see Reeves getting signed, I'm like, it doesn't really move the meter much. But you listen to Treliving, and it's a quiet group, he said. And, sometimes you bring in an energetic guy, a vocal voice, a voice that's respected, and a guy that's going to do anything for his teammates. Will he play in the playoffs? Listen, we'll see. It doesn't move the needle for me with that signing, but I think it's a great addition to the team. Klingberg had an off year. Here's a tall, rangy defenseman that can move the puck that, like I said, had an off year. But I think this is a really good situation, whether he plays PP1 where Morgan O'Reilly's been for years, whether he takes that over or he slides into PP2. And then I think when you put a footprint or you put your thoughts onto this team as a new GM, you have to look at not only being more physical in the playoffs, because we watched how Florida and Vegas went at each other shift after shift after shift. And it was a combination in Vegas having skill, being able to respond to the toughness, which I don't think Toronto could go further with the lineup that they had. But it has to be in the top 6 or top 9, not a guy in the bottom 3 or out of the lineup. So add Max Domi, who's a terrific competitor that played really well and has played really well in the playoffs the last couple of years in long runs, and Bertuzzi, who was seeking around $7 million in January, February on a 1-year deal with the cap going up if it works out. But I love these plays because I think they're a better team now than they were last year. just with the physical toughness of this team.
Yeah, and I like what Brad Treliving had to say. I think Leafs fans will too. He said, listen, we need to add some noise to this dressing room.
Yeah.
That's why he brings in Ryan Reaves. And Reaves says he takes that very seriously
Mhm.
in organizing outings and bringing players together and making sure there's no cliques, because the reputation of the Leafs right now, locker room, is that it's pretty quiet. So
Tight
you bring
and
a guy
tight, I'm sure, very tight.
So maybe you bring in Reaves who's going to change that. So I don't mind that. Listen, he's going to play 9 to 10 minutes on the fourth line. They're not bringing him in for offensive production, right? They're bringing him for a bit of a fear factor. And listen, Treliving even said it. We need to add snot to our team. And he said something very interesting. He goes, as much as the games change, some things never change. And he was talking about the physical side of the game. The Leafs haven't had that for years. And now you're adding that in Bertuzzi, a guy who can do that and score. Domi, versatile guy who can play on the wing, play center at deals where they, want to prove themselves. I think that the deals have been pretty good, but like, most mentioned, there's still a lot to do. And I think as much as Matthews is at the top of that list, Nylander might be, the 1B to his 1A right now.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Barney? The idea of adding a bit of voice to a room. When I said tight, I don't mean close knit, and they probably are, but I meant tight as in squeezing the stick a little extra hard in big moments, in big games, ahead of big games, just because of the history of what that team has accomplished or hasn't been able to accomplish. You've been in a locker room where you've had to be that guy that we all know you're fun and vocal and all that stuff. Have you been on a team where it's like, guys, relax. We know what we're doing here. We're a good hockey club. We don't have to worry about it.
In a different way. I was brought into Colorado. Now, I wasn't the voice that, with Joe Sakic and Teemu Solani, Peter Forsberg, Rob Blake, Adam Foote. There were so many guys that were able to talk. But in general, they were quiet guys. And we had guys like Jim Cummins and Peter Orwell that were tougher guys. But again, those guys weren't playing when we got to the playoffs. So I came in, and whether I played on the third line or played on the fourth line in a checking role, I had that personality and that kind of bring a team into a fight. Not that they weren't ready, but was ready every single time and kind of made it fun around the room. And that's exactly why I was brought into Dallas, because, Brendan Morrow was quiet. Mike Modano was quiet. Sergei Zubov, quiet. Great players. So when I went in there, I kind of have that same effect as a Ryan Reaves to kind of energize the room and be the voice and talk. So I've been there before. I think it's essential. I hated playing on quiet teams, and I played on a few, and I tried to be, that guy. But I like this. I like the voice, and I like what Treliving had to say.
Barney, how difficult was it to go into a quiet dressing room and, as a new guy, turn up the volume a bit? Did you have some I don't know, pushback from other players that have been there longer than you?
No, not ever. Like when I went to Tampa, it was kind of a quiet room. Dave Andrechuk was our leader, and Brad Richards was a rookie. Vinny LeCavalier. These guys were really, really young. Marty St. Louis was just coming into his own. So I never got pushback. You do it in a fun way, but you also do it in a respectful way, and you're never. There is times you have to call guys out, and sometimes you have to call yourself out, whatever it may be. But it's in a fun, loving way. So I think guys have always appreciated it, had fun, and even when I went to Chicago, I think that was maybe I don't want to say the only pushback, because that's not the right way. We had young guys that just didn't fall in line, and I don't want to bring their names up because I think it's they were good guys, but they didn't understand we can have fun. We can have fun off the ice, but you got to come to work the next day. You have to come and lay it all on the line, whether it's practice, whether it's morning skate, whether it's the game. And I think that was the problem when I went to Chicago. And when I voiced my opinion, it wasn't why I was let go, because I ended up getting bought out from the Chicago Blackhawks. They just didn't think I could play at that level anymore. So that was fine. But I loved how honest they were. But that was the trouble in Chicago. We were ready to take that next step, brought in a lot of free agents, and I was a voice again brought in to Chicago. It just didn't work out. I really, truly believe it was because the guys couldn't separate partying off the ice to playing hard on the ice.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you want to go out and watch Noel Gallagher all night? That's fine. But you got to be ready to host the Parleh show the next day. That's just
play
the way
her,
she
right?
goes, right?
You're in bed by 9:45. It's great.
That's true. That's right. Thanks, Noel. We got a good night's sleep. That's for sure.
I do really like Bertuzzi.
I do.
Really,
yeah.
Like if you throw him on the top line, and I believe he's had a 30-goal season. Yeah, a couple seasons ago. Now, if he plays with Matthews and whoever's on that line, he's going to get his goals. In a 1-year deal where he has to prove himself. I mean, he has a bit of an injury history. Broke both hands. Those are block shots. You can't really do much about that. But you get a guy who I think is much better than Michael Bunting, but a very similar player, which I think that line needs.
He's way better, though. Way better.
Yeah. Carolina's done a lot. A lot of movement as well, and they're up in the running, if you will, if there was a deal ever to be done with Nylander, that Carolina is the rumor that they might have some interest there, and they've never really had a prolific goal scorer. Aho's great, but never really had one, and Nylander did 40. But if you're Brad Treliving, Barn, Albert, what's the next thing? What's the next thing you got to do? Is it you have to ink Matthews, get that done, and then figure out Nylander, or do you want to make a move with Nylander first and then see what Matthews has to say?
I think you're working on both at the same time.
Yeah.
And
okay.
I just don't see Nylander being here. I see in no which way that he's here long term. There's no way to fit him in. If he believes he's a $10 million player, there's no room.
There's no room.
There's no room. Matthews is the guy. Got to get him signed long term, or again, the next couple of years, it's pretty flat cap. Then it's going to go up. But I just don't see how they fit in Nylander. I don't see, and I've said it for the last few months. As well as he played in the playoffs, he's probably got the most value because where he is. But now you couple it with a team that needs to sign him long term, and he wants $10 million. Maybe he can get it somewhere. Maybe he can get it somewhere. He's not a $10 million player.
No.
You don't think so? 40 goals, not 10. And he's not in Toronto because you can't afford him. But you don't. I think he'll get it somewhere.
The comparable is, I think, is Timo Meier. But I'm with Barney too. Yeah, he thinks he's a $10 million player, and he'll probably get it. Not from the Leafs.
He's going to get it. It's just not going to be with the Leafs.
Yeah,
And listen, he's a hell of a player, but he's also very inconsistent. When I'm giving out $10 million, you better be damn consistent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's take a quick break here, and we'll get into the rest of the NHL. We know we talk a lot of Leafs, but we got lots of other things to get to. But now, quick break here on the Parleh Show. All right, welcome back to the Parleh Show, brought to you by Bet99. Rob Conway here, Albert Vartanian, and Matthew Barnaby with you. And we talked there about the Leafs. Obviously, there's a lot going on in Toronto land, and whether or not Nylander was going to make a play for $10 million or whatever. So there's still lots of pieces to move. But, Barney, we've seen a lot of moves already. The first one is I've been finding interesting is the buyouts. We had some really big ones, big names being bought out. And I was always under the assumption, don't ask me why I didn't know this, that you were made whole. And then you just go sign for the league minimum because the other team would fit the rest of the bill if they paid you more money. But you have been bought out, as you mentioned, in Chicago, and I know this now, but you do not get made whole. In fact, if you're a young player, you get screwed over pretty big time.
Yeah, you could sign for whatever it is, $5 million a year, and it usually doesn't happen to those guys, but it's happening more and more. Buyouts, you look at Matt Duchene's incredible buyout, but I was bought out from Chicago my last year of that deal, and essentially Dale Talon, who I absolutely think he's awesome guy and a great GM. But he handled it with class, just called me and said, we don't think you can skate well enough to contribute at this dollar amount. This was coming out of the 2004 lockout. And I was like, okay. So called my agent and essentially got, because of my age, was 2/3 of the length of the contract, paid over twice the amount of terms. So we always hear guaranteed contracts. They're guaranteed if you get hurt. If you're owed $10 million on your contract, week one, you blow your ACL out or get a concussion, you can never play again. You are made whole. You get it all. If you're under the age, I believe it's 26 or 27, and you're bought out, then you only get 1/3 of that contract. I believe over 26 over the term. So there's not guaranteed contracts. You're only guaranteed if you're hurt.
Yeah, the Leafs have a buyout situation on their hands with Matt Murray.
Yeah.
And so they missed the first buyout period. So now, from what I read, they're going to go into arbitration with the Samsonov, which opens up another buyout period. So I think that'll probably happen this week, I would think. What else are you going to do with Murray? You're going to, trade him and send some picks as well?
I didn't understand the Sens picking up Murray when they did and signing him. And I didn't understand Dubas picking him up and bringing him to Toronto. I was like, what? Have they not seen the injuries this guy has had and the lack of being able to be in the lineup? He's a pretty good goalie, and he had some pretty good runs in Toronto, but he just can't stay healthy. Stay healthy.
No, and they need to get rid of it, man. They're over the cap right now.
Yeah,
so
they're over
in
the
a tough
cap
situation,
and they got to figure that out. I mean,
sign a goalie, get rid of a goalie, and who knows what else.
Were you surprised, Albert, by names like Wheeler and Duchene being bought out? Like, I was a little shocked. It's a lot of money. I was
surprised about Wheeler. I saw that one coming. The Duchene one was, even to him, he was like shocked by it. I didn't think Nashville were in that position, and they bring in Ryan O'Reilly. I don't really know what they're doing, but it seems like Barry Trotz, I guess, still wants some sort of a contending team.
Yeah. These are bigger names that we were saying. And like Barney, like these are, look, Duchene's underperforming. Wheeler didn't have a great year, but they're not like, guys on the end of a 15-year deal that they used to have, like a Rick DiPietro or whatever. Well, Rick DiPietro Day and Bobby Bonilla Day. Apparently, I didn't realize DiPietro was still getting paid at 29, and Bobby Bonilla loves Canada.
Do you know Ken Griffey's the 4th highest paid player on the Cincinnati Reds?
Still,
it's
ridiculous.
Unbelievable,
man. Barney, you never managed to get one of those, eh? One of those lifetime payment plans.
They don't give $40 million for a guy that dumps the puck in the corner and changes. Like that's just not. You're not getting a buyout till you're 50 with those kind of things. But I love the Wheeler signing. He's making $100 million and he's going to get 50 points at least. Now he's slowed down,
sure,
but he's still going to get 50 points for under $1 million. If he gets 30 points, it's a great signing. He's going to get 50 points. The guy can still play. And he goes from like $8.5 million to under $1 million. Like a brilliant signing.
Then you get Corey Perry in Chicago for $4 million.
I don't get it.
$4 million.
I don't get it.
I just figured they brought him in. They need to hit the cap floor. Come trade deadline. They flip him to a contender, eat some of his salary, and off you go.
I couldn't believe Corey Perry after all of those runs with Dallas and Tampa Bay.
If he can get it, go and get it.
Oh, for sure. But after basically just saying I want to win a cup for the last 4 years, to just being like, okay, now I don't care. Now you're right. He's probably going to get flipped at the deadline. I mean, there'd be no reason not to. But
absolutely, and
he's a good piece beside Bedard, though. That's the type of player that he needs, I think.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Barney? You think Bedard is going to need a little bit of veteran? They got Foligno with him too if he sticks around, and Hall was there. Is he still? Yeah,
Josh Bailey. I don't know.
I think Bailey might be bought out. Yeah.
Perry's the same way. Is he a $4 million player now? Hell no. He's in that $1.5 million range. That's where he should be. But when you bring in a young guy, it's a hard league, and it's not as nearly as intimidating when I was playing. But still, it is physical, and they're going to try to take advantage of young, smaller players, and that's the reason why Ryan O'Reilly is there. They aren't going to contend for a few years, but you bring in a guy because you have young guys coming into that lineup, and you're trying to build a culture. And if you're paying a couple extra $1 million short term for guys to teach the young guys how to be a pro every single day, I think that's paramount in building that structure for your team and the character that you bring in. These are character guys that have won. And I think that's what they're getting paid for, maybe not necessarily what they bring on the ice.
Couple of shoes still to drop with some bigger names. And from a Canadian team perspective outside of Toronto, has not been a lot of action, Albert. I mean, if you're Calgary with all the guys, Foley's gone, but, there's some pieces they still need to make decisions on. Edmonton needs to do something. They can't possibly bring Connor McDavid back to that team and not have made a move.
What they're doing. You keep hearing even Erik Karlsson.
I would love that trade for them.
But then you got to sign Evan Bouchard. You got to make. There's a lot of decisions to make over there, and the goaltending. Are you going to stick with that goaltending?
No.
That's the thing. There's a lot of decisions to make for Edmonton.
That's a terrible signing.
I just don't think they know
Campbell.
Exactly where they're going yet.
It's so hard to when you need, like, Jack Campbell. Look, he's played well when he was in Toronto, but to give term like that, Barney, is just so risky for a player with such a short window of success. Like, it's just, and now you're looking at another 4 years. Is it another 4 years he's got left on that deal? And you got Skinner that really probably needs the net more than him. And I don't know what Edmonton's gonna do. They were talking about buyouts. I think it's a little early for that. They'll give him one more year, a kick of the can. But yeah, if you're a Canadian team right now, and if you're one of them, whether it's Ottawa, Montreal doesn't need to do much. They're just kind of figuring things out here and there. But is there any team you expect to really make a jump here in Canada?
A lot of those teams, you could take Vancouver, Winnipeg. They're in rebuilding. They aren't going to go spend the money on these free agents. They're going to let their young guys play. They're going to add a veteran presence here and there, but they're building through the draft. And once they feel like they're ready, that's when they're going to make their move. The same with the Montreal Canadiens. Those aren't playoff teams next year. None of those teams. Edmonton is a team up against the cap. And that's a team that you have to watch for. We can go back a year ago to this day, and I guarantee everyone was like, you gave Jack Campbell what?
Yeah.
You gave Jack, are you kidding? Like, it was a recipe for disaster right away. So out of all those teams, now Edmonton's the closest to winning. No one's going to argue that. And they might be able to finagle some things as they go along. And, if they're going to get help, it could be on the back end. They're pretty set up front. We know the two beasts that they have. But Ottawa, to me, is the team to really pay attention to, because the question mark with DeBrincat, now they just solved their issues. The biggest issue for Ottawa the last 4 years has been goaltending. So, signing Korpisalo, which is another guy that's dealt with injuries, and giving him a 5-year deal. But Pierre Dorian's sitting there going, listen, I have one kick at the can here, or I'm out of a job.
Yeah.
One kick of the can, or I'm out of a job. That's it. So this is the year. The Ottawa Senators have to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
They have to make the playoffs, or Pierre will not be here as a GM. So I think he's like, I need a goaltender. Our goaltending has been putrid. Our start last year, again, was putrid. And if we can get off to a good start and get solid goaltending, we're a playoff team. And I'm probably still the GM of the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, they have over $9 million left in cap space. They can make some moves right now. They need to. Yeah. And the end of the season, Ottawa looked good. I mean, there was a point there where, like, man, these guys might make the playoffs, but it obviously didn't happen. But the team is there, right, Barney?
Yeah. Well, DeBrincat's going to have a better year this year than last. What happens with him? He's finding out that the Ottawa Senators are the only team willing to offer him that kind of money. That long-term deal, that kind of money. Does he change his mind and say, wow, I love Ottawa, love Beaver Tails, Beaver tail me up, baby?
Yeah.
Or does he stick to his guns and say, no, I want to go somewhere else. I want to go to Detroit. The money's not there right now to these other teams. So
what about Carlson? Carlson back to Ottawa?
No. Well, Carlson wants to go to a true contender, right?
Yeah.
I don't see that. I don't see it.
You know who I would like there? I don't know if they can make this work, but a Mark Scheifele in Ottawa. He kind of wants out in Winnipeg. I think he fits well in Ottawa.
Yeah. It'll be, I mean, there's lots of options there. And like you said, they have $9 million. And like you say, Pierre Dorian is not worried about, emptying the chamber, because he is, he's on the hot seat, and deservedly so or not deservedly so. It doesn't matter. The point is, this team at this point needs to make the playoffs. Don't need to make a run. Don't need to do anything. Just make the playoffs. And if they do, then like you said, he'll probably get, I don't know what his contract is like. I don't know if he's got a few years left or if he needs an extension, but if they make the playoffs, he'll be around for a couple more years.
Yeah. And listen, I think he's done a lot of great things. Everyone always makes mistakes and
stuff
you'd love to take back. And there's been and a lot of things that he's taken heat for weren't his doing. When we have a boss and they're spending millions of dollars, they make the decision sometimes on this guy has to go. I'm not giving Mark Stone 8 years time $9 million, whatever the deal was. I'm not paying, back when Zibanejad went for Brassard, because they were in win now mentality. It's not like Pierre didn't know that Zibanejad was going to be a better player than Brassard long term, but they were in let's win now, put people in those seats and make some money.
Yeah. Quickly, Albert, who's won free agency so far for you?
Who's won free agency? Yeah. That's tough off the top of my head. Just because
I like Carolina.
Hey, Carolina looks pretty good too. Yeah. Carolina, they just got better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And think about it. Near the end of the playoffs there, they were so injured.
Yeah.
But that's a team that can win the Stanley Cup. And I mean, they locked up Freddie for a little bit more. And listen, he's been good for them too. I'm probably with you, Barney. I'll go Carolina.
I think I'm on with you. I think Carolina is the team so far. Lots of things still to come though. But we're gonna shift over to some Major League Baseball, maybe a little golf talk as well. One of the most popular wins on tour of all time, Ricky Fowler. We'll get into that as well coming up next. All right, welcome back to Bet99's The Parleh Show. Rob Conway here, Albert Vartanian, and Matthew Barnaby. We're going to get into some Major League Baseball. Obviously, the one sport that's really clicking right now. Look, Wimbledon's on, and breaking news, it's raining in England. We have not the greatest golf tournament in the world, but a huge victory last weekend for Ricky Fowler. We'll get into that a bit. But let's start with the Blue Jays, and let's start with the fact that they just got swept by the Red Sox, who... Look, the AL East is tough, top to bottom, but they're the worst team in that division, and it's disappointing when you're at home and you lose All 3 games. So if we talk about it, panic, not panic, up and down. Albert, Alek Manoah just had a decent start for the Fisher Cats. 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, 10 Ks.
Better than the complex league.
That was better than the complex league where he gave up like a baker's dozen or whatever it was, 11 runs. Innings, and 2 2/3. Is it time to bring Manoah back? Or
no.
You
want not ready. Well, one decent outing and Double-A? No, I don't think so. Listen, he's on track. It seems that way anyway. Who knows what's going to happen? But the thing with this Jays team, like, I don't want to push the panic button. No. They can't put together a string of consistent, really good baseball. That's been the problem with them.
You know why that is?
They can go on these runs and win 3 series in a row, and then they get swept by the Boston Red Sox. There's an issue, obviously, playing teams in the AL East. They can't seem to beat them.
The reason that they can't go on a run is because they can't hit the ball with consistency.
Which you would think the opposite would be the situation where the pitching wasn't good enough and they were hitting. But it doesn't seem to be the case.
They don't win 10-7 baseball games right now. Like, it just doesn't happen. And Barney, you've been on them from a betting perspective. Basically every single game, and the parlay, which we'll talk about at the end of the show, also going to probably be riding those Jays. But what have you seen from this team? And we thought Vladdy's bat was heating up. Bichette's been unbelievable. Don't get me wrong. But again, listening to talk radio in Toronto, is Springer out of the 1 hole, put Bichette up at number 1 and mix up the order. No, Brandon Belt's in the 3 spot. I don't know, John Schneider, what he can do outside of just change the names on the lineup card in different spots, because there's nowhere else. Nobody's coming. There's no player, at least from a hitting perspective, that's coming. You might have some help in the bullpen with Ryu. And who's the other guy that's supposed to be coming?
Chad Green.
Yeah, Chad Green. But from a hitting perspective, it's in that locker room right now, Barney. What have you seen from this team? Their inability to score runs.
Yeah, it's just inconsistent. I think the one thing we would have thought is the one consistency would have been their hitting. Like, they're a great hitting team when they're going. But when you lose your ace, you lose your best pitcher, and then you couple that with inconsistent batting, the expectation becomes very low. And I've been on it because I just keep waiting for them to go through a string of 10 games where they're hitting everything. And it's great one game. It's great for 3. Then it's crap for 3. Listen, you're going to find out my pick later on, because I still believe this team can hit. I don't believe you lose that. It's the confidence. And going back to Manoah, it's not time to bring him back yet. I mean, he's in a low league, and he's not facing the Otanis and the big boys of the best league in the world. So this is all about confidence. He needs a few weeks of a few good outings to get that confidence that I can do. And I've read everything on watching his delivery and all that. But once he gets back to the big leagues, now he's got to face the best players in the world, the best hitters in the world, with the best coaching staffs in the world prepping these batters. So that's what it's all going to come back to, is can he do it on the big stage when there's pressure on him? Because now there's going to be more pressure than even before. The spotlight in Toronto is going to be all over him. And can he regain that form? So one time isn't enough. It's a good sign, but this team's just been way too inconsistent to be believing in them. From a betting perspective, they've been biting me. They've been biting me in the ass hard.
Yeah.
And they better turn that around, because I'm getting very sour.
The one really good positive, or big positive, with Alek Manoah is I watched some of those highlights and read the reports, and he seems to, have his confidence back a little bit, striking guys out and hopping off the mound, and just the way he moves about himself. When Manoah's at his best, he's got the swagger. It's just how he is. So saw a little bit of that in that outing, but like, I'm with Barney, still far from bringing him back to the lineup. And I think the pitching actually without him has been pretty decent.
Fine.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's the bats, and just like stupid errors. That base running error by Bichette.
Yeah.
To lose that game. I mean, that could be on Rivera as well.
And this division is tough.
It's just not thinking. Yeah.
This division is tough. Really.
It's so tough.
Especially
last night, the New York Yankees are down 3-0 to Baltimore, and they rally.
Baltimore, big win for them, man.
Baltimore's starting to come back. Jays are 2 games out of a wild card spot, but only 5 behind Baltimore, who was 20 games above 500, but have been on a bit of a dive here. And like you say, Albert, you've been all over the idea of the Rays coming back to earth, and they're 27 games above 500 ain't bad. But yeah, they're starting to do that maybe a little bit as well. But this is the most ridiculous, I think, division in sports. I mean, we could get into a debate about that. What's the toughest division in sports? Your Jets are in a pretty tough one right now in the NFL. But this is ridiculous how good the East is. It's always been this way, though. It's never. This is not something new. I've grown up in Toronto, cheered for the Jays, and it's always been this good. Now Tampa Bay always seems to figure it out and have a decent team. Baltimore usually is not great, so that's a little bit there. But New York and Boston are always New York and Boston.
Division is a bit upside down right now, as it used to be. It'd be the Yankees and Boston near the top, right?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, those teams are going to be around the whole time. You're going to get a couple of teams from the AL East are going to make the wild card.
Yeah,
that's what makes it more. And there's like 7 teams essentially in the running for an AL wild card, which makes it difficult for the Jays not only to play catch up, but come trade deadline time, a lot more of these teams aren't going to be sellers because they're still going to believe, hey, listen, we have a shot at making this wild card. So the Jays aren't in a great spot, but they've kind of been a second half team in the MLB.
They have been last 2 years.
And so who knows what happens, right? You got Vladdy in the home run derby, Bichette's over there too, one of the MVPs, I think, in the AL so far, at least for the Toronto Blue Jays. So it's not all doom and gloom, but they got to figure it out, and they need good pitching. And tonight, I think, is very important. Bassett hasn't been great on the road, but I mean, if they can get one over the White Sox to start a series, and I think they're going to be in pretty good shape to wrap up this first half.
Yeah, Giolito on the mound, and he's starting to figure things out as well. He's a solid pitcher.
At home.
So really
good at home.
So 6-5, 353. He's not going to be a walkover for the Jays, but they are getting decent, odds, right? -120, -125. Like, you're not getting the -200, -240s against, let's be honest, a poor White Sox team. So I don't mind the Jays play tonight because of that fact. I mean, I think they should be a bigger favorite, Barney, than the number you're getting right now.
Yeah, -115. Coming off a terrible series against the Red Sox. The White Sox aren't a very good team. -115. I believe in law of averages, and the good players are going to find a way to get out of slumps. And I find this team will find a way at one of these times. And I'm going to be, if they lose today, I'm back on them tomorrow. That's just the way I'm going to be playing this. Double it up, baby.
And you're not even a fan of Toronto. I want everyone to be clear. He's not some ridiculous fanatic. I love the Jays. I never bet against. No. You're just seemingly like betting red or black in roulette and just sticking with black or red and the whole time, never taking it off, not mixing it up, not going the other way.
No, not at all. Listen, I'm a New York Jets fan.
That's it.
I bet against the New York Jets. I'm not one of those super fans. I try to win money. That's all it's about. I listen, I want my team to win. Like, I won't be betting against my New York Jets a lot this year. I think they have a good team.
Yeah.
But I'm not a super fan of the Jays. I like them there because they're Canada's team.
Yeah.
But I believe there's some value on them, especially at -115.
Absolutely. It should be a fun couple games in Chicago. North side or south side? South side
Chicago.
South side.
Right? Yeah. They got the Tigers after, and it wraps up this first half. They need to win at least one. If they win 2, they're in good shape. But you want to go in a wild card spot, I think.
Yeah,
into the
I think
break.
so. And I'm glad Vladdy's. Sorry, go ahead, Barn.
No, I was just saying, like, as inconsistent as they've been without their ace, they're right there. Manoah comes back, pitches well, they get the bats going. They're in the playoffs.
You're right there. Yeah, I'm glad Barney. I'm glad Vladdy's in the home run derby too. I think
I am not in the home run derby.
Yeah, you are not in the home run derby.
Correct. I did once hit 3. Made me think of Manoah in the simulation when we used to play Wii with the kids. I hit a couple of homers.
Nice.
There you go. You did batting practice with the Bisons, you said, didn't you?
I did. Never hit one out.
You didn't get one out? No. That's the most frustrating thing. I am a good golfer, and I hit the ball a very, very long way. And I've played baseball my whole life too. And I used to call it Johnny Mac power, John McDonald, like warning track max power. And I can hit a lob wedge out of the Sky Dome. And I can't get a ball moving at all. Like, it's just so fun. Like, I square it up. I was Ichiro. I go down. I'm lefty. I go down third base line because if I try and hit a home run, it's just easy fly ball. Right. And the guys, like you're playing, back up. This guy that lasted for like 3 at bats. And then
golf
it's like, bring it in. Yeah,
the golf swing doesn't work on the plate.
Not conducive
popping
whatsoever.
Everything up. There's no power behind it.
Because like you have your hands up here, you're ready to go, and you're going to try and keep your swing flat. And the second the ball's in the air, you drop your elbow down, you swing up at it like a golf club, and you're toast. So, anyways, we don't need to get into all of the ins and outs of the golf and baseball swing. Speaking of golf, we have an interesting tournament. The John Deere.
Give it up for Ricky. Man.
Yeah, we have the John Deere coming up, where I believe Denny McCarthy's the favorite. But last week, I was so pumped. And look, Adam Hadwin was in it. I love to cheer for Canadians golfing. And Colin Morikawa is a great golfer too. But I was so jacked that Ricky was able to birdie 18 and then get it done in the first playoff. I can't think, you guys might have an opinion. I can't think of a more popular win on tour outside of when Tiger in 2019. when he won the Masters.
Yeah, I would think so, man. I mean, everyone's rooting for the guy to win. It's 4 years since he won on tour?
Yeah.
He's trying to make the Ryder Cup team. It's a great story.
It is a great story, and we talked about it, Barney, when, in different variations of this show before, that when is Ricky signing with Liv? Because why not, right? Like, he would have got $200 million, and he couldn't win a tournament. He couldn't make a cut, so why wouldn't he?
Look what Taylor Gooch is doing over there.
I know.
Can't stop winning tournaments.
Exactly, and so I'm thinking, just take it, man, and go do your thing. But he didn't. He stuck with it, and for no other reason than because he wanted to win again. Like, he doesn't need money. I'm sure Farmers Insurance gives him plenty of dough, and he could have went to Live, and he decided not to. And I think that adds a lot to the story as well, Barn.
He has about 100 commercials. There's
he's
no
in everything.
guy on more commercials, but I think he was 135th in the world. I think he's around 30th now. He was bad.
Bad, man. Yeah.
Bad. And you can tell how respected he is and how well liked he is by all the Twitter from everyone, old players, different rappers. I mean, they got everyone tweeting out at this guy, and just everyone drooling over him because he's back. And we saw at the U.S. Open the run he had, but he's had a hell of a year, and just good for a good guy to find his way back. Because we all know in any sport, and golf is probably the hardest. When you lose your confidence, man, you can go from the best in the world to very average and bad really quickly. And it's hard. It's hard to get it back. So good for him. Just a great role model for young kids, and just a good guy in the sport. Awesome.
Yeah, seems that way, right? Good example of that, Barney, is Hunter Mahan. He sculled a chip at the Ryder Cup, and he's like, he can't golf anymore.
Because Zalatoris.
Yeah.
He's got the putting yips too.
You got the it just goes. And so, like I say, when you're a millionaire and you have a beautiful wife and daughter and everything, you got everything you need to want to come back and do it is
still got love for the game. You want to win. By the way, have you guys seen the field for this John Deere Classic?
No, go ahead. Let me hear it.
Favored. Plus 1,400, Denny McCarthy.
Denny McCarthy.
It is a shallow field, my friend.
How is he plus 1,400? I can't even imagine.
Ludwig Aberg is fourth favorite, 24-1.
Who?
The rookie, Ludwig Aberg. He's been hot. Everyone seems to think he's going to win.
You said Akiberg.
Then your boy, Akiberg, his son. And then your boy, Adam Hadwin, 27-1.
All right. Well, Hadwin, I'd love to see him get a W after last week.
Yeah.
But look, it's hard to get him, especially with the elevated fields. Like, it's hard now to get the guys to come out to everyone because they have to go to those events.
Yeah.
They have to play a minimum amount. So we're sorry, John Deere.
I've always liked the John Deere, though. I will say that.
Yeah,
it's one of those tournaments. Yeah.
It's been around forever. John Deere has been committed to the PGA Tour for a very, very, very long time. They deserve an elevated event. And do you win a tractor if you win? Probably not.
You should.
You should, though. Absolutely, you should. All right. Well, we got one more segment to go. We'll get the parlay coming up after this. Time to wrap the show, but before we do, Rob Conway here, Albert Vartanian, Matthew Barnaby, and Sean McCormick, who's in my ear, is producing the show today. He's been on the show last week. Of course, he'll be back on to talk more Jays later this week.
He's a good man.
But we're doing the parlay. Now, Barney, you weren't at the last one. You're traveling, and we won. So clearly you were the problem the first time. Now, because it's July 4th, again, like the last parlay, we had to do the night game. So a lot of games are on. By the way, I hope everyone's enjoying themselves down south. Barney, obviously, your kids and everything on July 4th that are down there. But the parlay, I'll start with you, Albert. What is your pick tonight?
I'm taking Road Dogs, the Angels in San Diego. Ohtani on the mound. Look at the numbers right now for Shohei Ohtani over his last two starts. 22 strikeouts, 2 earned, and just under 7 innings pitched on the season. 3rd in strikeouts, opponent batting average 180, which is the best in the league right now. And he gets the Padres bottom 8 in the league in batting average, which is crazy. You have Juan Soto, Manny Machado.
They stink.
And these guys can't do it. Xander Bogaerts, Tatis.
You think being Toronto's a tough fan right now? How about a Mets or a Padres fan?
Oh, and Ohtani's going to have a little bit more to him tonight. Did you see Juan Soto's interview?
No, I did not.
He goes, we can get to him. I'm not going to shuffle on his ass, is what Soto said. So I like the Angels tonight. Road Dogs.
Love the Road Dog for Ohtani. Go ahead, Barn.
Hey, it was Canada Day, just a couple days ago. Back on the Jays.
Back on the Jays.
I am not ruining it. I like Ohtani tonight too. I never call out a guy that's the best in the league. That's like saying you're going to shut down Wayne Gretzky. Yeah. Good luck.
How did that work? How did that work for How did that work for Stephen Ames? Yeah, I think I can get the Tigers.
Really well against
Tigers. It went really well. 9-8. See you later, pal.
15 homers in June, by the way, as well for Ohtani.
Beautiful. All right, and then Sean McCormick, our producer, he's going with the under in the Athletics and Tigers game. Why you would bet that and force yourself to watch it and then also have the under? My goodness, Sean. That's torture. And I am
many hot dogs? How many hot dogs can you guys eat? I'm watching right now just the prep.
I would tap out at I think I tap out at 10.
I get 3. 3 hot dogs max.
I could probably get 8, but I couldn't finish the last 2 minutes because I'd be rushing off to the toilet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no chance.
I couldn't dip it in water.
Time out.
I couldn't dip it in water.
I know that's disgusting.
The over-under, I think, for the men's side was 72.5.
Go ahead. Go get him, Joey Chestnut. We love you. Anyway, I'm on the Braves. That parlay is plus 1295.
Ooh.
All right. Albert Vartanian, Matthew Barnaby, Rob Conway. It's a hot one here in Ontario, but we'll see if our picks are just as hot. We'll be back on Thursday on the Parlay Show.